The rain was coming down in sheets as I stared out the window of my Seattle apartment. I'm Torin, 43, and until a few weeks ago I thought I had it all. A good job as a software architect, a comfortable life, and a wife, Isolde, who I loved more than anything. We'd been married for 15 years, a milestone we celebrated with a trip to Italy, or so I thought. Now, the memories of that trip felt like shards of glass in my heart. Isolde worked as a marketing director for a large tech firm downtown. She was ambitious, driven, and incredibly charismatic. I always admired her for it, even when her long hours kept us apart. "It's for us, Torin," she'd say, kissing me goodbye before rushing out the door. I believed her. I always believed her. The first sign that something was wrong was subtle. Isolde started keeping her phone glued to her side, even in the bathroom. She'd always been private, but this was different. She'd jump if I even glanced at it, her eyes darting away nervously. Then came the late nights at the office, the urgent business trips, and the hushed phone calls taken in the hallway. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was being paranoid, but the knot in my stomach grew tighter with each passing day. One evening, Isolde said she had a conference in Vancouver and wouldn't be back for 3 days. I kissed her goodbye at the airport, a hollow feeling in my chest. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with doubts and fears. Finally, around 3 a.m., I decided to get up and distract myself with work. I went to the kitchen to make some coffee, and that's when I saw it. Her laptop was on the kitchen counter, something she never did. Usually, it was locked away in her home office. Curiosity, or maybe a desperate need for answers, overwhelmed me. I hesitated for a moment, then opened the laptop. It was still logged into her email account. My heart pounded in my chest as I scrolled through her inbox. There were dozens of emails from a name I didn't recognize, Kendrick. My hands trembled as I clicked on one of the emails. It was a love letter filled with intimate details and promises of a future together. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "I can't wait until our next trip, my darling," the email read. Italy was magical. I've never felt this way about anyone before. Italy. Our anniversary trip. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. She hadn't been with me. She'd been with him. I read through more emails, each one a fresh wound. They talked about their secret rendezvous, their stolen moments, and their plans to leave their respective partners and start a new life together. I felt like I was reading a script from a bad movie. This couldn't be real. My Isolde, the woman I loved and trusted, was capable of this level of betrayal. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, replaying the last few months in my head, searching for clues I'd missed. How could I have been so blind? How could she have lied to me so convincingly? When Isolde returned from her conference 3 days later, I was waiting for her. I tried to act normal, making small talk about her trip, but the anger was simmering just beneath the surface. After dinner, I couldn't take it anymore. "I know about Kendrick," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Isolde froze, her face paling. For a moment she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then the color returned to her cheeks and her eyes hardened. "What are you talking about?" she asked, her voice cold. "Don't play dumb, Isolde. I read your emails. I know about the affair. I know about Italy." She didn't deny it. Instead, she launched into a prepared speech about how unhappy she'd been, how I'd neglected her, how she needed something more. It was all a lie, a pathetic attempt to justify her actions. "I'm not going to apologize, Torin," she said, her voice rising. "I deserve to be happy, and I wasn't happy with you. That was it. That was the final straw. 15 years, and she couldn't even offer a sincere apology. The love I'd felt for her turned into a bitter, burning rage." "Get out," I said, my voice trembling. "Get out of my house." Isolde didn't argue. She packed a bag and left without a backward glance. I watched her drive away, feeling a profound sense of loss and betrayal. The next few weeks were a blur. I barely ate, barely slept. I spent my days at work, going through the motions, and my nights staring at the walls of my empty apartment. Our friends tried to be supportive, but I couldn't bring myself to talk about it. The pain was too raw, too personal. I knew I needed to do something, anything, to break free from the cycle of despair. I started going to the gym, throwing myself into workouts until my body ached. I reconnected with old friends, going out for drinks and trying to laugh again. Slowly, gradually, I started to heal, but the anger remained. I couldn't shake the feeling that Isolde had gotten away with it. She destroyed our marriage, broken my heart, and walked away without a scratch. I wanted her to pay for what she'd done. I started digging into Kendrick's background. It turned out he was a senior executive at Isolde's company, a married man with 2 children. He had a reputation for being ruthless and ambitious, willing to do anything to get ahead. I contacted Kendrick's wife, Coralia. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew she deserved to know the truth. We met at a coffee shop and I showed her the emails. She was devastated but also grateful. She'd suspected something was going on, but she hadn't been able to prove it. Coralia and I became unlikely allies. We shared our stories, our pain, and our anger. We realized that Kendrick and Isolde had been using each other to climb the corporate ladder, that their love was nothing more than a calculated power play. Together, Coralia and I hatched a plan. We gathered evidence of Kendrick's corrupt business practices, his shady deals, and his abuse of power. We leaked the information to the press, and within days the story was national news. The scandal was devastating for both Kendrick and Isolde. Kendrick was fired from his job, his reputation ruined. Isolde was also forced to resign, her career in tatters. Their dreams of a new life together were shattered. I watched it all unfold on television, feeling a sense of satisfaction, but also a strange emptiness. I'd gotten my revenge, but it hadn't brought me the closure I'd hoped for. I realized that true healing wouldn't come from punishing Isolde and Kendrick. It would come from forgiving myself for being so blind, for trusting the wrong person. It would come from moving on and building a new life for myself. I started volunteering at a local animal shelter, spending my free time caring for abandoned dogs and cats. I found solace in their unconditional love and companionship. I also started taking painting classes, rediscovering a passion I'd abandoned years ago. One day, Coralia called me. She told me she was leaving Seattle, moving back to her hometown to be closer to her family. She thanked me for helping her through the darkest period of her life. "I don't know what I would have done without you, Torin," she said. "You gave me the strength to leave Kendrick and start over." We said goodbye, promising to stay in touch. As I hung up the phone, I realized that something had changed within me. The anger was gone, replaced by a sense of peace and acceptance. I'll never forget what Isolde did to me. The betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it doesn't define me. I'm stronger now, more resilient. I've learned that love can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be a dangerous weapon in the wrong hands. I'm ready to love again, but this time I'll be more careful. I'll trust my instincts, and I'll never let anyone take me for granted again. The rain had stopped and the sun was beginning to peek through the clouds. I took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill my lungs. It was a new day, a new beginning, and I was ready to face it head on. Life had thrown me a curveball, but I was still standing. And that, I realized, was all that mattered.